first one is to check the qualifications of the person.
Definitely.
Right, because if the person is claiming to provide some course in trauma-informed therapy, then is the person a trauma-informed therapist
Themselves or not, right?
Yes, confidence is something that comes from within yourself. There will always be 100 people who will pinpoint you by saying things like, oh, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, it's not ethical, right? You had mentioned that you would be providing some practical exposure, and these are things which we usually don't get in other internships. So that was one reason. And while I was listening to the recordings, I actually felt that as well, because you were sharing things from your experience. So that is something which really helped.
Hi everyone, welcome once again to another episode of the PsyK-Talk. I'm your host Kirti Garg, a practicing psychologist and also the founder of the PsyK-Life. Today we have a very special guest with us, Miss Vidhi, who you probably know as the young psychologist, and I connected with her as one of my trainees. Welcome Vidhi, welcome to the PsyK-Talk. How does it feel?
Thank you so much for having me here. And you started with a very standard therapist question. How does that feel? Yes, I feel very excited to be here and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. So not many people know, but we have already connected earlier, I think you were one of our trainees in our counseling internship. Let's start with how your experience was there maybe first.
So the reason why I particularly chose your training was because, you had mentioned that you would be providing some practical exposure, and these are things which we usually don't get in other internships. So that was one reason. And while I was listening to the recordings, I actually felt that as well, because you were sharing things from your experience. So that is something which really helped. Plus, I had attended that workshop just right before my master's. So, it was a good start because I was already going with some practical knowledge, which really helped me in a few classes as well.
Awesome. So you probably got that push,
yes.
To pursue your master's ahead. Where are you pursuing your master's from?
From CRISE Bangalore, the central campus.
How is the experience there?
The campus is very beautiful. They have a birds park. They have a fountain as well. Okay, but these are other things. The faculty is very good. The campus is just 1 kilometer away from Nimhans, so we have guest lectures from people from Nimhans as well. Apart from that, I really like that they have that 250 hours of pro bono therapy which we have to give. So that is again some practical experience which we usually don't get in other Indian colleges. So great. But at the same time, very hectic as well. Everybody knows that about Christ.
I'm sure. Vidhi, psychology kyun choose kiya? Let's come to the main reason. You are popularly known as the young psychologist, and I see your passion for psychology, on and off, like very frequently. So why psychology? What got you into psychology?
So that is my favorite question, but then I've never been able to answer why psychology, because as you said, it's the passion, I think. When I was in class 12, I used to sit on the first bench in my psychology class, and then we were studying this chapter 5. I think it's called, it's something on therapy. So I liked it so much, and it was that time when I decided that even I would like to do this further. So that led me take psychology in my UG, and then finally now I'm in PG.
Yes. What are your plans ahead?
I want to set up my private practice. I am also looking forward to specializing in some certain kind of therapies, but still deciding what specialization I would like to get, but slowly getting there to the process of, having the private practice.
Great. If somebody does not know what psychology means, how would you describe psychology to people?
So the first thing that I would tell them that, okay, it is not about mind reading.
Yes, we are not mind readers.
Yeah, it is not about telling other people what we're thinking about them. Also not the study of crazy people. Just the basic definition of how it says that it's a science of mind and behavior. So using that, I would like to explain what psychology is about, and also very elementary subjects of what we study in psychology, such as learning, memory, intelligence. So when you study this subject, you will understand a lot about yourself, about others as well. You'll slowly start understanding why people behave the way that they do. You will start to get your emotional awareness as well, awareness of your thoughts, your feelings. You'll get better at reflection, introspection. So these are some kind of things that I have personally experienced, and I think that if you are someone who is interested in taking up psychology, you will also go through that phase.
What have you understood about yourself? Kya aisa hai that Vidhi did not know earlier and now maybe after psychology she knows?
I would just say that now I'm better at figuring out and labeling my emotional states better, so I can label them better, just by physiological reaction as well. Now I can label, okay, if this is the physiological reaction, that means I'm feeling this. I've personally also gotten better at communication, right? Because there is a very huge difference between how you would communicate earlier and now how I would like to communicate now, because you can keep your point as well, like whatever you want to say, along with considering the other person's viewpoint, also the ability to see different perspectives. So that is a change that has happened within me.
Amazing, amazing. Vidhi, you're popularly known as a young psychologist, like I've mentioned many times already. What is so different about the young psychologists these days, the Gen Z or the the upcoming generation, versus how things have been in the mental health field earlier? So what is the change? What is the difference?
So when we talk about the difference that we get to see in the current generation versus the previous generation, so with the help of social media only, people have now started to become more vocal about mental health issues, mental health concerns. There are so many people who have their own psychology page, and with the help of that, they're raising more awareness about mental health issues. Now the thing is that even the older population does experience mental health concerns, but they don't know that it is mental health concerns. They'll be saying that, okay, they have a headache, they have chest pain, or they're having some pain in the stomach, but it is actually the somatic version of their mental health concerns. So the thing is that they also experience, but because of the upbringing they've had, or because of the conversations they have with people of their age, they would probably think of it as, just a phase, or okay, it'll be fine, just do some yoga, or okay, yoga does help, but then ultimately therapy doesn't have any substitute.
Definitely.
Right? So yes, but the younger generation, they are more aware about it, and they are more open to seeking therapy. Right? So willingness to seek therapy is something that I'm seeing these days.
Do you also feel that the younger generation is more open in terms of speaking out about issues or speaking out about how they're feeling? Like you said, you've gotten better in communication, you've gotten better in understanding your emotions. So do you think somewhere opening up is also something which earlier people never used to do, or used to do in less frequency as compared to now?
Yes, definitely. And again, I feel that largely that's because of social media revolution of mental health itself, because you'll see so many posts which, go with the famous taglines like, it's okay to not be okay, speak up, everybody needs a listener. These kind of, I've seen these kind of posts many times, so I think that they somewhere encourage. Now even media representation, if we talk about movies, even you'll see there are so many movies or even TV shows, series on Netflix, they will have a therapist out there. Now let's not comment on the skills of the therapist that they show, but okay, somewhere they are normalizing. And since so many people watch these representations, this is really helping in actually...
It starts normalizing.
Yes.
A therapist being there in the picture.
Yes.
It starts normalizing the concept of therapy altogether. Great. You somewhere mentioned that there's no substitute to therapy, and I completely, as a therapist myself, I relate to that. What is therapy according to you?
Therapy is like a safe space where you can be yourself, you can share whatever you want without feeling judged, and then ultimately, but the power is there with you. Like if you're the client, you have the power to decide how your life should look like, and the therapist on the other side of the table is just a professional who would guide you, who would like to facilitate the session for you, but then ultimately it's you who finds the answers.
So can we say that therapy is a space where you can find answers for yourself in a much guided, channelized manner?
Yes, good paraphrasing.
Yes, I just paraphrased.
Yes, I noticed that.
Great. You also mentioned about there being a social media revolution and people putting out a lot of information around mental health, around psychology. What do you have to say about the reliability of all of this, as somebody who holds a good community, as somebody... So, are you very conscious about what content you're putting out? Or we see a lot of quacks doing a lot of things online. How do we deal with all of that, and how do we make sure that the most reliable information reaches people?
So you started one of my favorite topics by talking about quacks, because I see so many pages these days, so many mental health professionals as well who are doing such kind of things. and it's very harmful for young minds, young students who are just in their first year of bachelors, who don't really have that knowledge, to often be misled
Right.
by such kind of posts. And not even psychology students, people who don't have much knowledge about mental health and psychology, they can very easily be
Right.
misled. I've seen some organizations who claim to treat OCD in 5 days. Such kind of workshops are there. Getting practitioner courses in 499 rupees. Such kind of courses are there. And what we can do about it is, of course, just raise awareness about it. And I often give a few tips to students if they want to differentiate between a reliable organization versus an unreliable one.
I would like to know
Yeah.
these tips.
Yeah, so definitely the first one is to check the qualifications of the person.
Definitely.
Right, because if the person is claiming to provide some course in trauma-informed therapy, then is the person a trauma-informed therapist
Themselves or not, right?
Yes, because I have seen people who are providing courses in fields that are not even related to psychology, and their qualifications nowhere match with what they're providing. So first thing is the qualifications. Second thing is you can also check the reviews of previous students who have attended those workshops before. And third, just check the kind of work that they're doing.
Also the course structure, what are they,
Exactly.
so it's
Yes.
a 5-day thing, what are they covering in
Yes,
those 5 days,
yes.
and how can you really...
And what are they promising? Are they saying that you will become a psychologist in just 5 days? And that doesn't happen.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Great, Vidhi. One of the major reasons why I wanted you to be here and to have this conversation with you is at such a young age, you have built such a large community. We want to know all the secrets. We want to know all the hacks. I'm sure all the psychology students out there would want to know how we can together work and build a community for ourselves.
ऐसा कोई hack नहीं है that if there was a hack I would have definitely
How long has it been
shared
since
it.
the young psychologist started?
It's gonna be 2 years in
Okay.
January.
And how
yeah.
many followers do you have at the moment?
63 point something.
So 2 years you've already built a
Yes.
community that big. How?
So initially it was about being consistent, because when I was in my bachelor's I had enough time to make content. So the consistency really helped me, and then collaborating with different people is also something that helps you, because this way it's like a two-way thing that you're getting. Their followers are getting to know about you, you're also getting to know about them.
Right.
Collaborate as much as possible, be consistent, and there will be times when you see that okay, your page is not getting engagement, but then ultimately consistency is more important than feeling motivated or demotivated, because these are just phases. But the more consistent you are, 1 or 2 posts, 1 or 2 reels will blow up, and that is what is going to get you engagement. Also, the component of posting relatable content, so that is one thing that people can do. But then,
I think that is something I admire a lot about your work. Everything seems so relatable. So I start missing my days when I was a bachelor student, and yes, we used to go through something very similar. How do you come up with all of these relatable content?
I just think about my pain points, and then I feel that okay, I have been experiencing this. I'm sure there are so many other people who are going through the same thing. But recently I've shifted my content from those relatable kind of memes to now posting more educational side and useful side, which would really provide value to psychology students. And after a few months or even a year, you do find your niche. What is your niche in your Instagram page? Like, I've seen your content closely and it's mostly about the courses that you have, spreading information on the different courses that you provide. For someone it could be master's entrances, like a person like me. So how you can actually help students, provide them value, some kind of help which you did not have when
Right.
you were a student, and how you can give that to others. What I do is that, okay, if I'm in class and I learn something new, I find out about a new website, I'm like, okay, this was new for me, maybe I can share it with others as well. So then I make content on that.
I like one thing, that this consistency that you've built in providing resources to others. Do you somewhere feel that this also makes you learn a little bit more?
Yes.
You're more conscious about sitting in the classroom at college, that today I have to go and share something with my audience?
Yeah, that does happen. Even the pressure of posting does get to me sometimes, because it's like you have to post on a very frequent basis, and if you don't post, there is some kind of FOMO which starts coming up. And a little self disclosure, I'm also a perfectionist, so that gets to me a little bit more. But then I can always reassure myself by saying things like, it's okay. Balancing is important, and it doesn't have to be 100% all the time, because our best can look different on different days.
How nicely you put this. Our best can look different on different days. How do you deal with the pressure of posting every day?
By not posting every day. Yeah, by not posting every day. Because I understand that, okay, being a human, it's not possible that, we can give our 100% in every aspect of our life.
Right.
Okay, sometimes it's 120%, then the other days it's like 40%, 60%, but that's okay. And not comparing our growth or our engagement with others is something that really helps, because everybody's journey is unique and everybody has obstacles or growth phases also in their own journey. So because all of our journeys are unique, so that's one understanding that I have. Sometimes I also repost some of my own reels, so yeah, that's how I survive that time.
So it's not always about coming up with new things, it's also about using
we can do that.
Great. Vidhi, you mentioned that reaching out to people, collaborating, networking is something that has helped you build a community. How do you reach out and how do you collaborate?
By just reaching out, by just texting them. So Instagram is a great tool where you can communicate with people, where you can reach out with the people, propose a collaboration idea if you have. Generally, there are other mediums such as mail as well, but we don't really, receive that much communication there. LinkedIn is also another powerful tool, though I am still trying to build my LinkedIn community. So Instagram is my personal space where I reach out to people, where I get collaboration requests as well.
See, I'm sure there are many people, many students like you and maybe younger than you also, who would want to build a community, who would want to collaborate with people. And it's easier to say that, just dropping them a message helps. But I'm sure people are hesitant.
Yes.
Every listener, every viewer looking at us right now, hearing us, would be doubtful कि यार इतना easy नहीं होता ये message drop करना. What do you have to say to them?
So I have to say that even I started with zero, just like you, and even I didn't know what to do. So I just did it. I think I texted Divija, and obviously she's someone with so many followers, and you would not expect a reply from her.
Right.
But turns out that we both were from the same school. So I just texted her that, very excited tone that, wow, I find out from the same school, we had the same psychology teacher as well. And unexpectedly, I did get her reply. And then she checked my content out. She liked a few posts. And then this is how, in very early, phase of my Instagram journey, she did check my account, and she did get connect with me in very early stages. I think I was under 200 or 300 followers.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What were the posts, if you could, recollect, that connected with Divija also?
So that was the time, I think, in my second semester of bachelors, where I was doing stats and I was very confused, just like any other psychology student. And then the post was about when you finally understand what t-tests are about, it gives you feelings of power.
Okay.
Yes. Also, if you've seen the movie Ratatouille, right, there's the mouse there. There's a very happy smiling face of the mouse which says that you're BF Skinner's rat and you finally get the food.
A psychology joke, I'm
Yes.
sure our community members would be able to relate to. Okay. You also mentioned that आप pain points ढूंढते हो and you make content around that. I want to know from, as somebody who's also in the field, what according to you are the biggest challenges that a psychology student faces?
So I've noticed a pattern that even before you come into this field, there is already a fear of statistics and biology because of the numerous memes that are there on social media. Also, the fear of numbers is what makes people scared of stats. And many people think that stats is the same as maths, whereas that's not true, because maths is like very arithmetic thing, but statistics is more of just how you would like to, organize data. And then it is combined with the research aspect of psychology. So even I was scared of statistics just like any other student, but then I realized that the more you try to understand it from the concept, things really start making sense. It's like all the concepts of stats come together and then you understand, okay, okay, so it actually fits. So that is one thing.
Any
Even-
concept that probably seems scary, but you have understood it in a different way and it's easier for you today?
T-test, ANOVA, even NPC, Z-score, standard deviation,
All of these,
all
okay.
these things, because they actually do make a lot of sense. If you read the text and then you look at the graph, you will understand कि okay, जो मैंने पढ़ा वो ऐसा दिखता है. So that actually makes sense to your brain. So that is one challenge that people can face. And the more you start with basic books, the more better it gets for you to understand, because if you just start with a very complex book, if you just start by opening SPSS, then there are chances you can feel overwhelmed.
Could you help with some of these resources?
Yeah. So for statistics, I usually recommend S.K. Mangal, Miniam and King. For research, a very basic book is Ranjit Kumar, and that is the book which helped me with my entrance preparation as well. It's a very basic book. I started with Jamovi when it comes to the softwares, and that also really helped me because it's not as complicated as SPSS. So these are a few resources I would suggest for stats. And then biopsychology, also people think that, oh, it's biology. I did not take science in 11th and 12th. How will I do it? But then, okay, it's just one part of the brain where little biology comes in. But then again, it's very difficult from
This is
what.
something I'll share with you. I've also worked as an assistant professor. And when I was in the college teaching, biopsychology was one subject which was given to me to teach. And I remember how scared I was, because as a student, this was one subject I used to, literally run away from. And today, I had a class of 70, 80 students who I had to teach this. And then it started making sense. You made it easier for yourself and definitely for the students. And none of my students failed. Can you believe that?
That's amazing. You're a great teacher.
Yeah, so we were talking about challenges that psychology
Yes.
students face, and you highlighted about the fear for statistics and biopsychology that people usually have. What other challenges?
Also, we can talk about choosing a particular college for ourselves, right? Because if you enter the field of psychology, then you do masters because you want to become a psychologist. If you're coming with the goal of becoming a psychologist, then masters is mandatory. Now, choosing a college for masters also becomes a very difficult task given the competition that is there and the few seats, the limited number of seats are there.
I see you provide mentoring sessions also, right?
Yeah, I do.
How do you find out these resources? How do you keep yourself updated? Because I think that is mandatory. Even today, while we are having this shoot, there are so many changes happening in the MPhil field,
Yes.
So how do you keep yourself updated, and how do you do justice to the mentoring sessions?
So when it comes to my mentoring services, I only provide mentoring for navigating your bachelors or choosing a college for masters, because these are things I've personally, experienced and been through. For subjects like MPhil or UGC NET, I usually refer people ahead to people who have the expertise there. So for masters, I usually say that first understand what is your area of interest. If you have already decided that you want to get into counseling, then I would suggest masters in counseling. If you want to do clinical, if you're just not that clear that you want to do clinical, but you like to study biology, you like to study clinical psychology, you want that psychopathology side, then clinical is one road that I suggest. After this, your city preference is also something that is important. And ultimately, check the curriculum of the college, because if you're someone who wants a very chill or a flexible kind of schedule, then government colleges could be your fit. But if you're someone who's looking for a very rigorous type of course that your college is providing you everything, the extensive training and all, then usually private institutes like Test, Christ or Manipal come into the picture. So that is how I ask students these basic questions, and then ultimately they come to their own answers.
Right. And do you keep yourself updated? Like,
Yes,
is there
yes.
a data that you create?
Yes, definitely. Just yesterday, the new notification of CUET came in, and even though I've already given the exam, but I was actually transported back to the time, and I started feeling anxious that, oh, the notification came. And then I did my own research so that I can be updated, because I myself have students who are preparing for this exam, and while it is important for them to do their own research, but it is important for me as well, because it is my responsibility.
What are some sources you go back to keep yourself updated and do this research?
So I always refer to the official website.
Good.
So if we're talking about CUET, then NTA would be the website. I would myself register myself so that, okay, I'm not filling the form or not paying the fees, but then try to fill the form myself so that I can see what are the changes happening this year.
And what else? So one is the official website. How else do you create that entire data? Whether it's the resources that you provide them. I think you also touch upon colleges abroad and India. So
Yeah,
it's
Indian
a vast
colleges.
it's a vast thing. How do you keep yourself updated?
So I usually help with Indian colleges. If there's somebody who wants a review of a particular college, then I have a few friends, a few contacts who are studying in that particular college. So because they are studying there and they have personally experienced the curriculum, faculty and all. So either I connect them with those friends of mine, or I get a review for them. That's one thing that I do. And then, as I already said, checking the official website of the places. When it comes to also providing notes, then having the reference books myself, because if I'm giving you notes on abnormal psychology, then I would read Butcher myself first and then make the notes from Butcher, because I would make sure that whatever you're getting, it is authentic, reliable, because we have already talked about coax and all in this field.
Do you make notes from one specific book and do you make them every time a student asks for it, or do you have them
No,
with you
I
ready?
already have a collection ready with me, and then if
Based on
there's-
when you were in bachelors.
Yeah, which is just 1 year back.
Huh.
Yeah, so I already had this resource. I do have it like a collection, and if there's anybody who wants any particular subject, then I just share it with them. So that's how it works, and they're in PPT format, so pretty easy to share, pretty easy to store as well.
Do you not feel a little underconfident or unsure when it comes to mentoring? Because somebody who's still studying, and even though you have completed your bachelor's, do you feel completely sure to help somebody else decide what to choose and what not to choose?
So there are two things which would help me answer this question. So the first thing that I would like to say is that confidence is something that comes from within yourself. There will always be 100 people who will pinpoint you by saying things like, oh, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, it's not ethical, right? I have experienced such kind of things. But then it's you who actually answers whether you are fit for doing something like this or not. And as I previously mentioned, that I only offer services for navigating bachelors or choosing colleges for masters. So whatever I'm offering is something that I have done myself, something which is actually under my area of expertise. And whenever somebody needs help for other things like MPhil, UGC, NET, I have people to refer them to as well. So that is how I make sure that I stay ethical as well. And yeah, I think
the testimonials with everybody who's coming to you, they only have good things to say. They only have more clarity that they've gotten after discussing things with you.
Yeah, and it's not just about me, but I would also, suggest other peers of mine who are currently in their masters. Many friends of mine have also started offering these mentoring sessions.
I see a lot of young students doing this.
I think that is a good thing, as long as they are staying ethical and only providing services under their area of expertise, because there is a lot of, myths in psychology that this field does not pay well. There is no scope in this field, but actually there is a lot of scope, and I don't think there's anything wrong if people are paving that way for themselves, if people are actually working hard, providing services, because in a way they're making their career, and they're just actually proving that there is a lot of scope in psychology.
I agree to what you just said, and I think that completely makes a lot of sense. Vidhi, something that keeps striking me again and again is you being so young and yet having such a diverse community, a diverse network, not just in India, abroad also. So where did it all start? When did it start?
It started 2 years back in January, as I previously mentioned. In the beginning, most of my followers were my friends because that's how we usually start, right? But then slowly, snowball stamping started taking place, and then friends of my friends, unke bhi friends, ऐसे and they started following me, and slowly we reached a point where my friends started sending me screenshots of random people, sending them reels, and then my friends get to say, "अरे ये reel तो हमारी friend ने बनाई है." So that's something which frequently happens, and that's a very proud moment for them and for me as
Definitely.
well. So that happens. I think my first international follower would be people of Pakistan because it was very easy to reach them, right? Because geographically we're very close. I collaborated with someone from Pakistan. Then I talked to 2-3 more people, and they're very sweet. So ऐसे करके we reached out to more people. I have I think followers from America, Australia, South Africa, UK. So many
How
people
do you stay
are there.
connected to your followers? Not just abroad wale, in general, all the followers that you have.
I think it is also important to post a personal aspect of your life on your stories as well, because otherwise you just look like, a mechanical kind of a person. And I think the way to build authentic connections and relationships is also to show a side of your life on your stories. So how I do that is by, I had a day in college today, let me just put a photo of my college. This is how my college looks like. This is what I'm reading today. This is what I ate today. This is what is happening in my life. So you can try and build not one-on-one connections, but then actually if you show your face, even in my reels I have started to put my face these days because that really makes you look authentic and reliable. So this is how people actually do understand, okay, this is the face, this is the kind of work that she does, and then they start to make associations like this. So this is how I started it.
I personally like how you keep referring others.
Yes.
So you're not somebody, I've seen this in your work, in how much ever I've followed it, that if you don't know something, like you also highlighted कि masters का नहीं पता या MPhil UGC NET का नहीं पता, you make sure you refer them.
Yeah.
So I think that is how you're also being both relatable, ethical, and building a community at the same time.
Yes, definitely.
Right? Okay, Vidhi, I think in sab baaton se I'm sure all psychology students out there especially would have learned a lot, gotten a lot of tips, and thank you so much for sharing all of this. I have a special segment for you now. We haven't titled it anything, but what is going to happen is I have some 6 to 7 pointers, and I would just like you to share your opinions around those areas. Okay, so my first one is एक ऐसा struggle जो हर psychology student face करता है, which is finding internships. What do you have to say about that?
You mentioned keywords, so I would like to say no face reading, no palmistry, no graphology. These are things that are not related to psychology. And as we previously talked, that the hack of finding internships is that number one, have a look at the qualifications of the facilitator, read previous reviews done by them, ask them questions, and you can ask as many questions as you want. And if the person, you can sense the red flags in them by the way how they talk to you. So using these things, you can find out whether the internship that you're looking for is actually going to promise the practical exposure and training that they're providing is actually there or not. Even the concept of role plays is something that really helps. So if you get to know the real life cases that the facilitator has personally been through, as long as it's ethical and confidential, no personal identifiers are actually given, that is very helpful. The more you experientially get to do hands-on training, so these kind of things, if the internship is providing, I think that is something really valuable.
What are some sources to look out for?
This one, the one behind me. This is really good. PsyK-Life, yeah, it is really good. I like everything that you promised that was there on the poster, that was actually provided.
I didn't expect this answer.
No, but that's true.
Okay, nice. Moving on, master's entrances. How can one get hold of them and crack these entrances?
So, recently, last year, but now this year, what has been happening is that many universities are actually coming under one umbrella exam, and that is known as CUET PG. So the first thing would be to actually look at the syllabus of CUET PG, because CUET PG does not ask many subjects, many topics, which are usually asked in other topics. Like, social psychology is not a part of CUET PG. And someone who doesn't look at the syllabus and just starts, preparing under the impression कि ठीक है 3 साल का syllabus आएगा psychology का, they're just wasting their time by doing something which will not be asked. So they don't have questions on social psychology, on IO, HR. They don't have questions on these subjects. So the first thing would be to actually shortlist the entrances that you want to prepare for, then look at their syllabus, and then practice as many mocks as possible. Try to get hold of previous year papers as well so that you can understand the pattern. Because CUET has a very distinctive type of pattern. You'll see reason assertion type of questions, you'll see statement based questions, rephrasing the thing, parajumbles, all of these are usually seen in CUET PG. So once you look at the past year papers, you actually get an idea about the pattern, the trends that are seen. So iske help se we are able to structure and modify our preparation to the best and the smartest way possible.
Okay, I think that helps. College applications, how to work through all of them.
So the struggle here is that it's very difficult to keep a check on अरे इस कॉलेज की एप्लीकेशन कब आ गई, इसके फॉर्म्स कब बंद हो रहे हैं, ये खुल गया ये नहीं खुल गया. So that is the struggle that people face. Now fortunately that is becoming easier because everything is just coming into one, as I said, like CET, PG. How you can tackle this is by making a list of sticky notes. Now I remember that in my room there is a mirror, and just next to the mirror there were 5-6 sticky notes, one below the other, with the name of the college, when is the application form starting, when is it ending, all of that was written. So whenever there was a news, I used to just write it down so that it was there in front of me, and I think it's still there, or if my mom didn't remove it. So it was there for a very long time, and whenever I used to get up, I used to see that, and then that was there in front of me, so that helped me keep that in my mind कि ठीक है इसकी deadline आने वाली है. Usually with now Christ University, Manipal University, इनके खुल चुके हैं. So if there's someone who is actually planning to prepare or give those entrances, so for Christ, Manipal, even CogJet was opened recently. So yeah.
Okay. I think you are somebody who keeps sharing about this on your page also.
Yes.
So I would definitely recommend everybody listening and viewing this episode to check her handle, The Young Psychologist, and she keeps updating. So you have that one go-to place जहाँ से आपको any which way सारी information मिल ही जाएगी.
Thank you.
Vidhi, what do you have to say about the 99 rupees courses that we somewhere talked about also कि 99 rupees में आपको ये course मिल जाएगा, वो मिल जाएगा.
सारी सस्ती चीजें अच्छी नहीं होती.
Nice, I like this pickup line. How can one understand what one needs and what one does not need as a psychology student?
So I think that understanding what your area of interest is can be one thing which will help you understand what you need, what you don't need. Also a question like where do you see yourself in the next 5 years could be a tool for reflection, could help you understand what do you actually need. Asking yourself a few questions: what kind of course do you want? Do you want a chill course? Do you want a flexible course? Or do you want a very rigorous and intensive course, just like how I wanted? So I think reflection is something that would really help, and getting your answers on a few pointers which will help you understand क्या चाहिए मुझे ये क्या अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. Also, what kind of population do I want to work with? What kind of setting do I want to work with? Which kind of specialization interests me more? Could be a few questions.
Great. My last question would be, how can bachelor student build their resumes and make it strong?
Favorite question, most common and popular question. So before I answer this question, I would like to address that there is a lot of FOMO among bachelor students that they want to make their CV full as soon as possible. They want to get all the experience in the world. They want to get paid internships. They want to attend conferences. They want to get the research published as well. But then the reality is that it does get challenging because bachelor's is also of 3-4 years only, and how much can you do, because the first 1 year is spent navigating and understanding what psychology is about. So you can start by networking very basic level. Either make a psychology page of yourself on Instagram, or having a LinkedIn platform is very important for everybody. So you can start by doing that, getting connected with not just students who are in psychology but mental health professionals as well, psychologists, even psychiatrists. because all these fields are connected and you get to learn a lot from these different professionals. So LinkedIn is something that you can start with. And then I also suggest that, apart from getting the course knowledge that is there in your college, you can also subscribe to different magazines or different letters, different journals that are there online, because whenever there is a recent research that happens in our field or recent law or policy that takes place, we get to know about those if we have subscribed to these magazines. Then there are so many mental health mixers that are happening these days, so even they are a great opportunity for networking. And बाकी यही research करो third year में. If you want to do research, you can get a guide, offline internships, and the list goes on.
Also be a little chill. I mean,
Yeah, that is
it's
also
okay.
very important.
I remember when I was in bachelors, even though I tried, कि मैं हर area में, I think this is something I also tell my trainees कि use this time to go into as many fields as you can. So don't just stick to counseling. Don't just stick to hospitals and clinical setup. Alag alag. I remember going to Tihar jail when I was in my bachelors. I remember corporate में I worked. I remember students के लिए, बच्चों के लिए emotional well-being sessions we create. So that exposure just gave me a better understanding, clarity on what I wanted. So providing yourself with a varied exposure is also something which would be helpful. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely, because for people there are only 3 fields of counseling. I mean, psychology, counseling, clinical, IO, but there's a lot more. So exploring is something that really helps before you fit yourself into a box. There's a lot you can explore.
Right. I think this definitely helps, and Vidhi, you've taken out quite some time for me and PsyK-Life to do this episode with us. I would just like to end by asking you top 3 tips for all the psychology students who are listening to you right now.
Okay. Don't stress. And actually, instead of just 3 tips, there's just a message that I like to share, that you're gonna be a great psychologist.
Yes, trust in yourself, and we are sure, if you
Yes.
put in the right efforts, you will become one. Thank you so much, Vidhi. It was lovely having this conversation with you, meeting you in person and having this. With this, we come to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us, and we will be back soon. If you have any questions, feel free to drop your comment in the comment section, and I'm sure Vidhi and I would love to answer them for all of you.
Definitely. Thank you for
Take
hearing
care.
us out.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.